This video has been brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one web platform for building your brand or growing your business online. More on that later, but first of all let's talk about this absolutely mind-blowing cheat for Super Mario Bros. Now this absolutely does work on the classic NES that we all know and love, and I will demonstrate that for you later, but first of all I'm going to show it to you on the Japanese Nintendo Famicom, just because it's so much easier to see what's going on. So first of all, here we have Super Mario Bros. Running as normal on the console. Let's hit reset to bring us back to the title screen, and now things start to get weird. Without switching off the console, I'm going to remove the Mario cartridge, which does, unsurprisingly, make the game crash. Now I'm going to shove in a copy of Tennis, yes, the original Nintendo release from 1983, and then I hit reset. Okay, you're still with me, we're about halfway through at this point, and now I start a game of tennis. I move my character around a bit. This is important. The number of steps I take will have an impact on what happens later. Now again, without turning off the console, I pull out the tennis cartridge and jam Super Mario Bros. Back in there. Now I reset and we're back to where we started, but this is the magic. When I hold down the A button and press start, I don't start on the first level, I start somewhere rather weird. I've unlocked a whole new world, a pretty strange one by the look of it, in a level not seen in the original game. Yeah, the number of steps I took in tennis determines what world I'm going to start in. Take up to 8 steps and you'll end up in one of the official 8 worlds of 4 levels each that make up the full game. But go over that and you'll end up somewhere pretty different. 9 steps will put you in World 9, not usually in the game, 10 steps in World 10 and so on. All the way up to World 256 when it wraps around again and goes back to World 1. With a bit of careful stepping you can use this to skip ahead to later legitimate worlds in the game if you want to. It's easy enough to do that, but surely the most interesting thing to do has to be to explore these weird extra worlds that open up. Now it does seem clear that whatever these are, they aren't genuine continuations of the game beyond what is supposed to be there, not real hidden levels like later Mario games had. Many of them are just straight up unplayable, and the ones that are playable are often just messed up versions of existing worlds, though it is still fun to take a look around. Remember the minus world glitch, that secret world accessed with a bugged warp pipe that baffled so many gamers way back when? Well, that is one of the worlds you can visit with this glitch, along with another 247 others. Now I said that this works on the NES, not just the Famicom, but, well, things do get a bit more difficult here. If you've got a new style NES top loader, well, okay, then things may well go down pretty much the same way as they do on the Famicom. You can do just the same procedure, or so I'm led to believe, ripping out the cartridges and swapping them in the same way. Sadly, I don't have one of those. I've got the far more common toaster style NES, and doing it on that is a bit more difficult. I have heard rumours that people have made this work without it, but you're probably at least going to need to have your lockout chip disabled, which is worth doing anyway. To get it to work on mine, I ended up taking the whole thing apart and giving the cart slot a very thorough clean, and well, I'm not really sure what I did exactly, but after putting it all back together again, the trick worked a lot better. Yeah, it can be a bit of a pain to get this trick working on the standard NES, it's a bit more finicky. I can confirm though that it definitely does still work, even with the European release of Super Mario Bros., which was changed a bit from the US and Japanese releases with its sped up music and all. I should really point out at this juncture that this is all quite dangerous, of course. Not so much to your own life and limb though, maybe if you're not careful, but definitely to your console and games. Yeah, you could damage yourself, brick your console, or kill your cartridge by doing this sort of thing, so I would say don't try this at home unless you're willing to take that risk and you know what you're doing. Anyway, if you think that all this sounds like too much hassle, well, I don't blame you. It is, frankly, but thankfully there is an easier way to do this cheat, either on the real hardware or on emulators, thanks to a couple of Game Genie codes. I'll talk about this a bit more later, but I've put these codes in the description so you can try them out for yourself, and if that's all you want to hear, well then, thanks for watching, I'll see you later. But if you want to know how this all works and what exactly is going on here in all this madness, well, stick around and I will tell you. But before I do, let's have a word from Squarespace, the sponsor of this video. Squarespace is a platform that lets you make your own website for whatever you like, whether it's personal, professional, business, or a hobby. If you need a web presence, Squarespace can do it for you. It lets you make your own website so you can sell your services, sell your products, or just show off your collection of vintage prepaid phone cards if that's what you love. I've been having a fine old time setting up a website for this channel, something that is long overdue, and it's taking me a while because there's just so many options. I can embed videos and do all kinds of stuff. If you'd like to give it a go too, head over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when they say free trial, they really do mean free trial. It's not one of those things where you have to enter your credit card details and remember to cancel it. It's just free. And when you're ready to launch, head over to squarespace.com/Chiropoulos for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So thank you, Squarespace. Let's now get back to the weirdness of Hidden Worlds. And personally, I find this pretty insane. It sounds like your typical playground cockamamie nonsense, but somehow it works. It's real. It sounds about as plausible as many other gaming rumours, doesn't it? Shenlong and Ellie's real and all that, but well, you've just seen it happen. I can scarcely believe it. I absolutely love this sort of thing, but how on earth can this work? Well, let's try and solve that puzzle. First off, a big clue is the fact that you trigger this cheat by holding down A and Start. This is a now well-known semi-secret continue trick. When you die and head back to the title screen, holding down A plus Start brings you back to the first level of the world you were last on, making the game that much easier to beat if you know the trick. Clearly this is spoofing that, somehow rewriting the last world visited that's stored somewhere in the memory. That still leaves a lot of questions though, but there is another piece of evidence that helps to blow this wide open. This piece of basic program code. This allows you to do this cheat without the tennis cartridge, and you get to type in the world you want to go to rather than be forced to guess. But basic on the NES, was that a thing? How on earth can you run that? Well, this runs thanks to the Family Computer Keyboard. I've spoken about this before, but this is a Japanese exclusive add-on that allows you to basically turn the Famicom into an 8-bit computer. By typing in this code and running it before pulling out the basic programming cartridge and then inserting Mario Brothers, you get the same effect as doing it with tennis, but easier and more precise. This code though tells us what the whole tennis arrangement does to the system's memory. And this is something that I probably need to explain. Yes, NES games came on ROM cartridges, don't they? That stands for read-only memory, permanent data storage, tiny by modern standards that cannot be rewritten. But as well as this, the NES or Famicom has 2 kilobytes of work RAM, rewritable memory where it can store temporary data about what's happening in the game. Everything from the score and the time remaining to where in the game the player is, what power-ups are active, all that kind of stuff. This includes in Super Mario Bros. A place to store the last world that Mario visited. When you hit A and Start, the game's code checks the memory and loads the world number stored at this point in the RAM. This is what all the silliness with the cart swapping does. It sets up a fake value here. It could be a real world if it's a number up to 8, or a weird extra world if it's more than 8. So let's go through this in more detail and watch what happens. First of all, we have the essential first step, starting out with the Super Mario Kart inserted and the game running. We don't actually even need to start the game, we just need to have it start up and go to the title screen. This sets up a pattern of data in the RAM, a load of zeros from the addresses 7D3 to 7DC, and then the value A5 in the memory address 7FF. Without this, the trick won't work. We need to have this data in the memory, highlighted here. Now we rip out the cartridge and insert Tennis. Yes, everything goes weird, but what's stored in the RAM shouldn't be affected. That will stay there. Now we reset and start a game of tennis. This is another key part. You see, tennis keeps track of how many steps the player takes. As you move around, the step counter increases, and it just so happens that this value is stored in the exact same place that Mario Brothers stores the world number that the player is at. But why on earth does tennis bother counting the player's steps? Well, this number is sent to the secret shortwave transmitter hidden inside the NES, where it's broadcast to Nintendo's headquarters in Kyoto. Nintendo uses these transmissions to... Okay, that is actually a total lie, but of course that rumour will probably appear on TikTok fairly soon. I don't actually know for certain why the steps are counted in this way, but to me it looks like it might be the seed for a random number generator, which presumably affects the gameplay in some way. Maybe the path of the ball or the CPU player's behaviour or something, I don't know exactly without seriously disassembling the game's code, and well, life is too short. Anyway, with these two steps we've set up in the memory the data pattern from Super Mario Brothers that comes from running the game, with the world number set by the steps in tennis. Now we swap carts for the final time and we're ready to go after hitting reset once more. When we press A and start, Super Mario Brothers checks the RAM to see what level it should start at, and we get not a legit level reached by the player, but the level number the tennis steps counter set, and we start in whatever weird place that may be. And at this point you may well be asking, what exactly are these messed up worlds? Why is this stuff in there? As I've said, it seems fairly clear that these can't really be intentionally hidden levels, they just don't work most of the time. Is this some sort of unused data left over from some beta version, or how on earth can they all fit in there? Well, the answer is pretty disappointingly simple. You see, of course, all the game's level layouts are stored on the game cartridge. The game code reads them back and draws the levels on the screen, the obstacles, the enemies, and all that stuff. To determine exactly where on the cartridge the level data is stored, the game uses a little algorithm, a short snippet of code that, when you give it a world number, it gives you back the memory address of where that world's data is stored. Put in 1 to 8 and this code points to sensible level data, but put in a number higher than that, well, it gets confused. And it just ends up loading some garbled data from somewhere in the memory. It won't find a real level, there aren't any more stored in there, but it will find something. Garbage in, garbage out, as the old adage goes. Why doesn't this just make the game crash or totally glitch out if it's reading random snippets of nonsense instead of valid level data? Well, that's because of the way the levels are stored in the ROM. If you've ever played Mario Maker, it's the same idea. Levels are made up of a whole bunch of different stuff you put down where you want, plus some data about what kind of level it is, the background and what have you. It's not storing every individual pixel in the level, it's storing a list of objects and some attributes about what type of level it is. The upshot of this is, even if you try to load a level that's gotten pretty garbled, it'll still come out somewhat playable. It doesn't always work, you can find levels that do make the game crash or soft lock, but a lot of the time you will find something that you can at least start. The way the world finding algorithm works means that you end up with a lot of duplicates or just legit levels that have minor variations. You can though find some pretty odd stuff that does seem different from anything else in the game. One other thing you might wonder about, what about all that resetting? Doesn't that just wipe all the data that's in the NES's memory when you press the reset button? Well, no, not exactly. Switching the console off completely will wipe what's in the RAM and leave it either empty or full of random garbage, but just hitting reset though does not. A reset just tells the console effectively to take it from the top and start running the game code from the beginning. It doesn't clear out the RAM, not usually. That's actually what this first bit of data is that we saw both Mario and the basic code right in there. It's sort of a marker. If Mario finds these zeros and that A5 at the end, it thinks that the game has just been reset and uses the number stored in 7FD to continue on that level. If it doesn't find that exact setup, it assumes the game has just been turned on and it rewrites it all from scratch. It is sort of a happy coincidence that Tennis not only uses this exact same memory location for something else, but also that it doesn't attempt to overwrite it either with anything else or run any similar kind of checks. You might think that this was done on purpose, but apparently not. This cheat was quite a phenomenon in Japan way back when it was discovered in the 80s, both the original cartridge trick and then the basic code, which was created and circulated not long after. It was so popular that Nintendo was forced to come out with a public statement denying that it was intentional and explaining what caused it. The weird mixed up levels did though inspire Shigeru Miyamoto to include a secret World 9 in the Japanese Super Mario Bros. 2, aka the Lost Levels in the West. In fact, pretty much every subsequent Mario game has had secrets aplenty, so this might have ended up being quite influential on the massive Mario franchise. I said before about the Game Genie code, or actually two codes together, that makes all this easier, and well, as I say, it's in the description and now they're on the screen as well. Use these two codes together and you can use the B button on the title screen to select what worlds you want. There's also another code, or a set of 5 codes this time, which might answer another question that you might have. Use all these together and pressing the start button skips the current level that you're on. Yeah, you may have wondered that seeing as the worlds in Super Mario Bros. All contain 4 levels each, do the glitched out secret worlds do too? Unfortunately, as most levels can't really be completed, it's hard to tell, but this code does let you skip through them. And you'll see that each world doesn't just have 4 levels, but yes, 256. And in fact, even the legit worlds have 256 levels that you can skip through. It's all more of the same, of course, repeated levels and messed up nonsense. And yes, it does work in the same way, feeding a load of random data into the level drawing code and getting a random level out. But well, 256 worlds with 256 levels in each means 65,536 levels in all, if you're willing to do a bit of weird hacking. So that's it, that's that, there you have it, a cheat that sounds too bizarre to be real, but it is. So this is where I will say goodbye, I think. Thank you so much to my lovely Patreons. I really do appreciate your help. It makes a huge difference. If anyone else would like to join them, well, that would be fantastic. There is a link below. So I will say thank you for watching, thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you next time.